There simply are no reasons for the existence of a God.
There's just no evidence of it.
If there is a God, then simply, why is he hidden from so many of us so much of the time?
Atheists often say they don't believe in God because they see no proof of his existence. But at times, the most compelling evidence lies right in front of our eyes, written in the pages of history with such precision that it defies all probability. The year was 623 CE, modern-day Saudi Arabia. Despite years of unrelenting persecution by his own tribe, the Quraysh, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, decided to leave his hometown of Mecca for good. His tribe failed to stop him from preaching Islam through bribery, torture and persecution, and now plotted his assassination. The bounty? 100 camels for the one to bring him in, dead or alive. A fortune that would set up a man for life. Just imagine, owning a fleet of 100 luxury cars. Soon, 400 of Arabia's finest trackers raced across the desert to hunt the Prophet and his companion Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, as they made their way towards Yathrib, now known as Medina. But the person who got closest to catching him was not even part of this hunting party. Suraqah bin Malik was actually sitting in his own tribal gathering when a person brought news of a possible sighting. Tempted by this mouth-watering bounty, Suraqah immediately got up and left. Suraqah was a master of his craft, an expert tracker. If he wished to capture something or someone, it was only a matter of time before they were caught. But on this day, Suraqah would witness a change in the stars, as he recalls in his own words that each time he got within a hair's breadth of the Prophet, his horse, which was otherwise extremely reliable, would falter and throw him to the ground. In line with pagan Arab customs, Suraqah drew lots to decipher the outcome, but each time the omen warned him against the pursuit. But the bounty weighed heavy on his mind, and so he mounted his horse once again. But try as he may, he failed on each occasion. It was at this point that Suraqah realized that all these events could not be passed off as mere coincidence. Something else was happening behind the scenes. And so Suraqah decided to abandon the pursuit, called out to the Prophet and said he wanted to speak to him. As he caught up to them, he even offered them provisions for the journey ahead, which the Prophet politely declined. It was at this moment that this failed pursuit became one of history's most remarkable proofs of divine knowledge. The Prophet, still being hunted and still being chased, said to his would-be captor, "How will you feel, O Suraqah, when the bangles of the Khosrows will be on your wrists?" This statement was so astonishing that Suraqah had to ask for clarification. Which Khosrows? Son of Hormuzd? The Persian Emperor? Just imagine the context. The Prophet was unable to stay safely in his hometown and was being driven out by his own tribe. Yet he predicted the downfall of the Persian Empire, one of the two major superpowers of that era. An empire so mighty that despite several wars, even the Byzantine Empire could not finish them off. There are 4 aspects hidden within this prophecy, any one of which could cause it to fail. Number 1. The Muslims would conquer the Persians, and not in any ordinary victory, but a decisive one that would gain them access to the royal treasures. For a small community fleeing persecution, this was next to impossible. Number 2. Suraqah would have to become a Muslim. Despite witnessing something special that day, Suraqah remained an idolater. He could have died in any one of the wars fought between the Muslims and the Meccans. Or he could have remained an idolater until his demise. No one compelled him to convert to Islam. Yet without his conversion, it was impossible that he would wear the bangles. Number 3. The bangles would be part of the spoils of war. When the Persian Emperor Yazdegerd III fled after the Battle of Qadisiyah in 636 CE, he took with him some of the royal jewels. He travelled from city to city and eventually settled in Merv, where he was murdered for these very jewels. Had the bangles been with him, they would have been lost to history along with this prophecy. And number 4, and most remarkably, Suraqah would have to live until this conquest took place. From the time this prophecy was made in 623 CE until the fall of the Persian capital in 637 CE, 14 years of disease, warfare, and the dangers of desert life, Suraqah would have to survive. Who can predict tomorrow's weather, let alone guarantee that someone would live for 14 years? Yet every aspect of this prophecy was fulfilled exactly as it was foretold. When the Muslims eventually conquered the Persians, the Bangles were part of the spoils of war. Remembering this grand prophecy, the Caliph at the time, Umar bin al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, called for Suraqah, who was now elderly but very much alive, and placed the bangles on his wrists. The tracker who once pursued the Prophet now stood as living testimony of his prophetic words. This was not a vague prediction or a lucky guess. It was an exact sequence of events that were fulfilled exactly as they were foretold. Specific knowledge was given about a huge military conquest that seemed impossible, a conversion that had not yet taken place, the exact fate of specific royal jewels, and the lifespan of a man who was once an enemy. For those seeking proof of God's existence, what more specific, more documented proof could one ask for?